changing his position slightly. Well guys, for the moment not a lot of big animals around. You can see lots of doves there, a little marsh sandpiper. Oh no, it's not a sandpiper, it's a little three-banded plover just to the right of the heron, and then of course the grey heron. We'll take a few minutes here, try and work through a few of those questions, and then we'll head on to our next warthol.
Peter, I've got a question here about technical question from Audrey. Several questions actually. Can you please give us an update of the camera at the waterhole, and also an update of the vehicle, and is James still with us?
Cool. Audrey, I'll go through those quite quickly. The update on the vehicle is the easiest. It's working, so that's very good. Oh, there's a kudu. And actually the kudu is right at our second question. If you look right there, where is it? There's the kudu. Just to the right of the kudu is the tree where our camera is up. Audrey also asking what's happening with the camera. The plan at the moment, Audrey, we had the camera flown around to a couple of places really, and we should have it back early next week. So we should be back on normal camera again early week. Graham and them have been trying to make plans. And then thirdly, James is still with us. He just had to go see a man about a dog and do a few things, and he'll be back early next week as well. So he's still with us. And we're still at Gowrie Warthol with one single kudu. It's a bit strange. Typically kudus like to be in small groups. They're not large herd animals like buffalo or zebra, for instance. But normally at least 3 or 4 of them together. I see only the one, maybe the others are further back. Oh, yeah, and that heron is looking like it's... Oh, here's a sandpiper. I was mentioning one earlier, just one down there somewhere. Look at that. Perfect reflection. Late afternoon warthol. There's a couple of smaller birds here. The heron is also busy hunting. There's just another question going to come through, and then we might slowly move along.
Hi Peter. There's a question from Jean-Pierre in Luxembourg. Turning back to the rhinos seen yesterday. Does Peter know why black rhinos calves walk behind the mother and the white rhinos calves in front of the mother? Is there any known reason for that? He does know about a legend that explains this, apparently.
Yeah, Jean-Pierre, I think it's the first time we've had questions from you as well. Nice to have questions from different parts of Europe as well. And very interesting point. Unfortunately, we don't see a lot of black rhino in this area. We see mainly white rhino. We have seen tracks and we have seen dung of black rhino. Sorry, so the possibility does exist. But the question, just in case the rest of you couldn't hear that question, we saw some nice white rhino yesterday, even though they didn't have calves with them. Basically, first of all, it's the fact that generally speaking, 99 out of 100 times probably, when rhinos are running away from something more so than just walking around, the black rhino calf tends to run behind the mother, and the white rhino calf tends to run in front of the mother. Now, if they're just walking around, generally just busy feeding, or maybe just walking down to the waterhole, that's not necessarily the case. They could walk in whichever way around. But as soon as there's something that makes them a bit nervous or frightens them, or they run away from something, that is the case. The logic behind a jump here is just that white rhinos, typically being grazers, obviously they're going to spend the majority of their time in relatively open areas, everything from grassy plains to maybe sort of mixed savanna bushveld like we have here. Whereas black rhinos, they're browsers. They eat twigs and leaves, and they like a lot of thick areas. They love your acacia tortillas, for instance, those umbrella thorn thickets, blackthorn thickets. They love tamboti. But generally speaking, they like really thick, heavy bush. So whereas the white rhino would make sense for the calf to run in front, obviously then the mother can be a slight buffer between whatever is threatening them and the calf. And also the calf should be able to run along with a bit of guidance from the mother because it's pretty open. In the case of the black rhino, it's very thick bush. Quite often it might be riverine areas or the type of habitat where you sort of need to know where you're going, otherwise you're going to find yourself in a tangle. There it would make sense for the mother to run in front. So there's a little bit less protection for the youngster, but at least she can sort of break a path and show a path, and the calf can stick close to her. So fairly sort of logical or habitat-related reason for that behavior developing. But it's not a fixed thing. Occasionally it can be the other way around, and certainly when they're just moving around casually, there's no specific way in which they move. Nice question, Jean-Pierre. I think, Suze, there may be one more question, and then I think we're going to head for the next dam.
Okay, well, it's a rhino question, just to stay on that theme. The rhino yesterday were awesome, as Peter might say. I have often seen 3 or 4 rhino together. Is it normal for them to stay together, or do they mostly stay on their own? From Tony in Bristol, England. And he also asked, what is your favourite beer?
Very good questions, Tony. The first one is very easy, or the second part of the question. My favorite beer is any cold beer, especially around this time at sunset. I'm not going to tell you which specific brand. It might not be quite the thing to tell you, but anyone that's cold works for me. As for rhinos, it is quite common to see them in small groups. They're not herd animals as such. In other words, they don't live in highly organized social groups like buffalo might, or zebra or elephant, for instance. But your crashes of rhino, you can get anything from 2 of them together, typically mother and calf, up to the most I've seen together, I stand to be corrected, but I think it was about 13 or so. So quite a large group. It was at the end of winter in Pilanesberg. There's a lot of rhino, and also when the water was quite scarce, so you tend to find larger groups around water. But I sort of drifted off the point of the question there, but there's no specific social structure or reason for them being in specific herds. Sue, sorry, I sort of drifted off there a bit with the thought of a cold beer. Did I cover that question, or was there another aspect to it?
You pretty much covered it. It's do they stay together or mostly stay on their own?
Cool, yeah.
3 or 4 rhino together.
Perfect, thanks, Sue. Just to add on to that, Tony, also your black rhino tend to be a little bit more solitary. They're not quite as docile as white rhinos are mostly. So black rhinos tend to be only mother and calf combinations or single bulls, whereas with white rhino, even territorial bulls will often allow 1 or 2 other bulls to hang around in their vicinity or within their own home range and even spend time with them, as long as those bulls stay submissive. Black rhinos tend to be a little bit more sort of on their own missions. Okay, I think we're going to move along. That was really fantastic, all the questions. We'll try and do a few more of them.